What up, draft nerds? Welcome in. Today we are mocking the mock, taking a look at Tampa Bay Trey, aka Trevor Sikkema's mock draft over for PFF, their lead draft analyst. One of my favorite people in the NFL draft landscape online, right? So I think he does a tremendous job for them. So I'm excited to get into this one. I've already kind of looked through it, and I'm going to talk about my most intriguing picks here that Trevor Sikkema was able to come up with in the first round. And we're going to roll through all the picks, but I'll talk a little bit more heavily about some specific picks here. So the Jaguars taking Travis Hunter, that's become very chalky. The Raiders taking their quarterback Shador Sanders, chalky as well. New York Giants quarterback Cam Ward. Raiders and Giants are the most commonly mocked teams to get quarterbacks. New England Patriots taking Tedero McMillan. It makes sense. They need a big-bodied receiving target, a talented receiving target for Drake May. Look, I don't have either of those quarterbacks 2 and 3. I don't have them as first round grades. So to me, they are reaches. I also think Tedero McMillan is a little bit of a reach here, but I get it because you have the quarterback and you need the the wide receiver talent. You also need offensive line talent. Slipped up there a little bit, but wide receiver talent to really bring out the best in his game. Then the Panthers get a guy who is a blue chip type prospect for me in Mason Graham, defensive interior out of Michigan. New York Jets, another blue chip Michigan man and cornerback Will Johnson. Tennessee Titans is the first pick I really want to talk about here, taking Kelvin Banks out of Texas. And Kelvin Banks is a prospect I really like a lot of what I see on tape. I do think he's a good athlete. I think he has adequate length. I think there's some superlative pass pro tape on him. I think he's good with his hands in pass pro as well. But I see some balance issues, and those scare me. They really do. They scare me at his size. I talked about it earlier today. The last tackle that I really fell in love with in the draft that had balance issues was Evan Neal. And so I think I've just got some battle scars from that. And I'm trying to separate the two prospects. They are very different. Evan Neal was a much bigger offensive tackle prospect than Kelvin Banks is. I think Banks carries his weight a little bit better and could maybe work out some of the balance issues in a way that Evan Neal hasn't been able to at the NFL level yet. But that would be an interesting one for me. And the Titans going tackle again. They've drafted Peter Skoronski, kicked him inside to guard. They have J.C. Latham. They'd be adding Kelvin Banks. I like the idea for them of beefing up and fortifying the offensive line. I just don't know if this is the best way to do it. It would give me some pause. It really would, especially with a guy like Abdul Carter when you need edge still on the board. And that's the next pick I want to talk about. The Browns take Will Campbell at 8, but then the New Orleans Saints going edge Abdul Carter at 9, I think is a fascinating fit because of some of the teams passing on Abdul Carter here. I think would be an absolute mistake. I think whether you're the Browns, the Titans, even the Patriots, I think passing on an Abdul Carter is a mistake. He has shown me through the course of this season, especially getting into Big Ten play and absolutely dominating, switching from basically a full-time off-ball linebacker to an edge player. I think he is ready to put the NFL on notice. I think he is going to have a big-time rookie year, and I think he's going to be one of the more dominant young players at the position in the league. And so it's interesting that the Saints drafted Abdul Carter when their MO, their history just suggests that they're going to go big, beefy defensive ends. Abdul Carter is the opposite of that, right? He's not a small edge prospect by any stretch. Like he's in the 253, 255 pound range. He's got enough strength, but this is much more of a speed rusher, a guy who can bend around the edge. He has shown incredible development with his hands, which is why I'm so encouraged by him. And I think that he's going to be just a dynamic playmaker at the next level, but it would be interesting for the Saints of all teams to go for an Abdul Carter if they still have the same management in place. We don't know what's going to play out, but I think that would be such an interesting fit to see Abdul Carter go to the Saints, and I think it would be a great value for them. I think that a couple of these teams ahead of them might end up being a little bit disappointed with the results looking back at the draft after a couple years and saying, man, we really passed on Abdul Carter. So yeah, Carter to the Saints at 9 would be awesome, especially if you're a New Orleans fan. At 17, That's the next pick I want to talk about. We will talk about the picks in between. Malachi Starks to the Bengals, I think makes sense. He's a blue chip type prospect for me. He should also be off the board earlier, so good for the Bengals there. The Bears taking Jalen Walker. I talked about him a little bit. Not a big fan of him this high in the draft. I do think there's some enticing and intriguing athletic potential with him, but to me, he's much more of a unrefined prospect, whether you're talking about him as a Sam, an off ball linebacker, or an edge rusher. Miami Dolphins getting Nick Scorton. I like that pick for them. Makes sense. Cowboys, Ashton Jeanty. That's the chalky pick right now. Ashton Jeanty is, I believe, the final blue chip type prospect. I think he's going to end up blue chip for me. So Cowboys being able to land him, even if he's a running back at 13, is fantastic. 49ers taking Ariante Ursary would surprise me a good bit. Um, I just don't see, thinking about him replacing Trent Williams is really difficult. And thinking about anyone replacing Trent Williams is difficult, but I just think he's a little stiff. I don't think he has the great flexibility. I think he's fairly unrefined. Like Tyler Warren to the Colts, I think that's a great fit. Walter Nolan to the Bucks makes sense for me, even though they've got some dudes. They've got some dudes on the interior, but Walter Nolan is a stud. But getting to this pick, Los Angeles Rams taking cornerback Benjamin Morrison out of Notre Dame. He's coming off a hip injury, and that would really worry me a lot if I was a Rams fan, if I was in that Rams front office. Um, I don't think he had particularly fluid hips in the first place. I don't think he has any defining traits that are like, this is an absolute stud. This is the guy we need. Even with the injury, we're going to take a Benjamin Morrison because he's just that much of a difference maker. I just don't see that. And so I think that would be a really interesting pick by the Rams and one I'd be concerned with. The next pick off the board is another one I'd be concerned with. 18 Arizona Cardinals taking edge Jack Sawyer out of Ohio State. Look, do I think Jack Sawyer is going to be a bust? Probably not. In terms of like, he's going to be a decent NFL player, probably a decent starter in the NFL. But at 18, you've got so many different options to really kind of try to jumpstart your pass rush. And Jack Sawyer is not doing that, I don't believe. I just don't see that. I think he's more of going to be the steady Eddie, hardworking, physical, upfront guy for you for your defense. And that's not what you're looking for at 18. I mean, you have James Pierce Jr. coming off the board the next pick. James Pierce Jr. has the potential to be a perennial double-digit sack type of guy and be up there in the league lead in pressures every single year. Now, is he going to be this big physical run stuffer? No, but he can make an impact against the run, shooting gaps and making splash plays in the backfield, which I think is more valuable than having the consistent run defender. I really do. I would take James Pierce in a heartbeat over Jack Sawyer. And look, I think James Pierce should be off the board ahead of Jalen Walker and Nick Scorton as well. Bottom line, I think James Pierce Jr. can absolutely rush the passer in a variety of ways. Like, he can bend the arc, which makes you so scared of his speed and length. And then he crosses your face in a flash and he's in the quarterback's lap. So that would be a big whiff for me. But the Falcons being able to land James Pierce Jr. would be great for them because they've been searching for edge rushers forever, seemingly. Seattle Seahawks take Cameron Williams. I think he's got refinement, a lot of refinement to undergo. And I know everybody invokes the Amarius Mims comp. I don't like that comp at all. Amarius Mims was a freakier athlete, a better tackle, was less experienced, and was just a better prospect. Now, he's had injury issues, certainly. Luther Burden to the Commanders would be absolute fireworks, even though they need offensive line help. Wyatt Milam to the Texans. I know they're talking about him playing guard here, but that's a weird one for me, a little bit early. Denver Broncos getting Colson Loveland. Yes, absolutely. That checks a box there. Baltimore Ravens taking Shamar Stewart, the absolute beastly edge out of Texas A&M, 290-pound athlete who will set the edge and has a lot of pass rush potential. Yes, that makes sense. Chargers getting Kenneth Grant. Yes, that makes sense. No doubt about it. Kenneth Grant is, he's a Michigan man, and Jim Harbaugh would absolutely love to land somebody like that to bolster their run defense. Jahdae Barron to the Steelers would be an interesting fit. He's got great versatility on the back end. I think he's a really good player. He doesn't scream Pittsburgh Steelers to me, but who knows? Siobhan Ravel to the Packers has almost become kind of chalky. Minnesota Vikings, Trey Amos, cornerback out of Ole Miss. I could definitely see that fit if Brian Flores is still there. Now, the next pick I really want to dive into is Eagles at 29 getting Mykel Williams. This would just be ridiculous. And, the Eagles going back to the well over and over and over and over again at Georgia, finding value in these Georgia players. Mykel Williams, he's got some development needed as a pass rusher. There's no question about it. But landing him this late in the draft would be an absolute steal for the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's like, how do they keep getting away with this? I don't think this will happen. I don't think Mykel Williams will fall. He's too freaky of a prospect with, being 6'6", 265, 270 pounds, a guy that has incredibly long arms. He is explosive, and he's already a great run defender. He can make splash plays. I think you're going to want to continue refining that pass rush skill set, but he has all the traits outside of being like unbelievably bendy and flexible that you could ask for, and I think that would be a great pick for the Philadelphia Eagles. And then at 30, another team getting a really intriguing pick here, another really good team. I've got 29, 30, and 31, Eagles, Bills, Chiefs. Like, these teams just getting steals, in my opinion. Jihad Campbell is a player that I would actually, if you're talking about this kind of dual purpose, flex fit type of linebacker slash edge player, I would value Jihad Campbell over Jalen Walker. I think he's a better athlete. I think he has more length. And the Buffalo Bills landing Jihad Campbell at 30 versus Jalen Walker going all the way up close to the top 10, I think it'd be a tremendous fit. And they develop linebackers so well in Buffalo. I think obviously Sean McDermott has a lot to do with that, but they have done a tremendous job over the years getting talented linebackers in and helping them understand how to execute at a high level in their defense. Matt Milano's dealt with a lot of injuries lately. They do have some other young guys you can feel decent about, but adding Jihad Campbell at this spot I think would be fantastic for them. And then this would drive folks absolutely crazy because I think Josh Simmons has Pro Bowl potential at offensive tackle, at left tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs, and them landing him at 31 would be absolutely dirty. And they did just take Kingsley Suamataia. They have Wanya Morris. They picked up DJ Humphries, but they don't have a long-term answer, it looks like to me, at left tackle. I think Suamataia probably projects best on the interior moving forward for them, and they could have some future needs there at guard. So taking Josh Simmons to play left tackle for you, yes, he's coming off the ACL, but I thought he was like the most naturally gifted mover and good length, really nice pass pro sets, can create push at the point of attack, can work to the second level, can pull. I think Josh Simmons was going to be my OT1 had he not suffered the ACL. So the Chiefs being able to land him at 31, yeah, how do they keep getting away with this, right? So those are the picks there that I really wanted to hit on. Obviously, Detroit Lions at 32, projected to win the Super Bowl at this point. Landing offensive lineman Gray Zabel is another interesting one out of North Dakota State. He is tough. He's a big-time athlete. Trevor talks about him moving inside to play guard potentially for them, so I could see that one as well. But would be probably a little bit rich for me. I do have day 2 grade on him, but landing him at 32, not a big deal there. But just wanted to take a look at this one. He does go into the second round as well, which I'll allow y'all to check out. But just wanted to give Trevor Sikkema a shout out for doing some great draft work, and wanted to take a look at this mock draft, talk over some of the more intriguing picks with y'all. Really appreciate you tuning in. If you enjoy the content here, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Y'all have a good one.